go into the check-in process. So how it will work is the South Carolina Republican Party will have a team lead at every one of the 10 precinct locations. There will be someone that is associated with the state party that will be kind of what we consider a team lead. We will also have volunteers to help with the check-in process, and the check-in is going to work in a really effective manner. You're going to have about 3 or 4 different lanes for check-in. 2 of those, which will be what we consider express lanes. Express lanes are for folks that whenever you come into the check-in process, if you have your driver's license, a photo ID, not necessarily a driver's license, but a photo ID, so a passport or a driver's license or concealed weapons permit or anything that is accepted by the voter registration office as a photo ID, and your voter registration card, then you will go into the express lane, and the express lane, so that way that you're not having to look up your precinct, or we're having to look up where your voter registration number is. You already have all that information on hand. So whenever you go into the express lane, you will go check in. The person checking you in will write the name of your precinct on your Form 1. And so I have a copy of Form 1 right here. As you see, we'll have the county will be filled in with Greenville. And then where it says precinct, the person checking in will write the name of your precinct, and then they will give you the Form 1. And someone will direct you then, at that point, to the table or the area of the room in which your precinct is conducting their meeting. And you will go ahead, you could go ahead and fill out the rest of the contact information all the way down until the bottom portion of the form at that point, but you'll be directed on what to do by your team lead whenever you get there. If you don't have so that's if you go to the express lane. If you don't have your voter registration card and you just show up with a photo ID, then you will go into the standard check-in lane. At that check-in lane, they will look you up on SC Votes. So on SC Votes, you will have to provide your first, your last name, your county of residence, which is obviously Greenville, your date of birth, and the last 4 of your social. The last 4 of your social is a new addition to the SC Votes website, so don't be alarmed for any of you, or please don't tell anybody that may be attending for the first reorg. Why do I have to give these people my social? That is so you can verify your identification for integrity purposes, so that we can make sure that you are the person that lives in that precinct and you are registered to vote in that particular precinct. So you will then, at that point, that person will fill in your they will fill in your precinct number, and they will go ahead and write in your voter registration number. Then that way, then you will be able to take that form. You'll be guided to your precinct table or area of the room, and then you'll wait there until further instruction. We will wait until everyone in line at Tabitha, correct me if I'm wrong, the meetings, it technically starts at 7. Check-in starts at 6:15.
Check-in starts at 6, and then the meeting will start at 7. So there's a whole hour for everybody to get in, get checked in, and get to their precinct table.
Right, and anybody in line at 7 o'clock, we will process. It may be a little bit, we give a whole hour, so I hope people show up early enough so we're not waiting for people at 7 o'clock. But we will, anybody that's in line at 7 o'clock, we will get on, we will go ahead and process and start the meeting. So after everybody has gone through the check-in process, then we will go through a kind of a standard formal couple of things, right? We'll have the team lead or somebody that they designate to lead the group in prayer. They would do the Pledge of Allegiance. They would do the Republican Creed, and then they will go through how to conduct the election and the election process in each precinct, the organization process of each precinct. That will include how to fill out the top portion of the form. Then on the second portion of the form, you have an option to say, I attended my precinct meeting. Every person there will need to check that box because they attended their precinct meeting. Then the next column is that I'd like to run for state delegate. I'd like to run as a delegate from my county to the 2023 State Republican Party Convention. And I'm attesting that I have voted in 2 of the last 3 GOP primaries. And you want to place your name on the ballot. So you will check that box, and you will you will print your name as how you want it to be on the ballot. For example, my name is Richard Bonnoitt. I nobody knows me as Richard Bonnoitt. That is what is on my form. That's what's on my driver's license. But if I were to run for state delegate, I would put it on there as Mark Bonnoitt, because that would be what I'm known as by. We will not check every person if they voted in 2 of the 3 Republican primaries on reorg night. We will go back through and check each of these people after they have indicated they want to run. Because if we checked everybody, that would take too long in the check-in process. We will wait to see if they check the box and they'd like to run for a state delegate, and then we will check every person that wants to run for a state delegate to make sure they qualify. If they don't qualify, then we will reach out to them individually to let them know that they don't qualify. Here's the reason why they don't qualify, and we will inform them they will not be on the ballot at the county convention. And then there's a place for you to sign your name under that. After you get through that portion of it is really whenever you will kind of take after you get through that portion, you will take kind of an independent control of your process. So whoever the current precinct president is, or if you don't have a current precinct president, or your current precinct president doesn't show up, then the group as a whole will elect a temporary president to conduct the meeting itself, right? So you will elect a precinct president or temporary precinct president to conduct the meeting. Someone will nominate that person. They'll elect a temporary precinct president. They will handle the distribution of the forms. They will make sure that they conduct if there's a competitive race for permanent precinct president, and then you have a race for secretary, a race for committee man, first vice president, second vice president, treasurer. You will conduct those elections if they're necessary. And then once you have that, then you will conduct the actual election for the delegates. You are allotted a certain number of delegates for your precinct, and that is based on the 2022 governor's primary in South Carolina. So that's based on the 2022 Republican primary, which was between Governor Henry Master and Harrison Musselwhite. So the votes in those divided by 25 is how many delegates, and rounded, is how many delegates your precinct gets to the county convention. To the county convention. If your precinct was under 25, then everybody gets a minimum of 1 delegate. So it's not plus 1, everybody gets a minimum of 1, and then the other numbers are divided by 25. So that's the election that is based on. You elect an equal number of delegates and alternates. So the team lead will go through how to conduct the entire process. On your table, in a packet that is associated with your precinct, you will have a Form 2, a copy of the Republican Creed and the Pledge of Allegiance, and you will have a proposed agenda, which essentially just shows you how to conduct the meeting that you're doing. So after they finish that, complete or announcement process, introduction process, which should only take about 15 minutes, then each precinct will still conduct their own meeting. At the conclusion of the conduction of the meeting, nobody is to, in the forms, just so you know, are a triplicate. So there's a white copy, a yellow copy, and a pink copy. These forms are not to be detached at the table. They will not be detached that night at all. All 3 copies will be turned back in to the team that is in charge of each precinct, and they will check to make sure all the information on the Form 1 is what has been transpired to the Form 2s from that precinct. So you'll load all your information after you complete a Form 1 for everybody, and then a Form 2 based on how the elections went for delegate, precinct president, committee man, those kind of things. Then that form, that blue form, and along with every piece of the P1 form, is turned back in the packet to the check-in table. Someone will be able to check the process to make sure that every information that is on this has been transcribed to the blue Form 2. If there's any discrepancies, then you'll take that back to your precinct, say, hey, we have a discrepancy about this, and they're able to correct it then beforehand. And then you will lead the meeting, and then if you want to take pictures of, people say, well, how am I supposed to know? If you want to take a picture of this, or take a picture of Form 1, or Form 2, that's totally fine, but all 3 of these this triplicate copy will need to be turned back in, as well as the blue Form 2. And if it's pulled apart, then it's going to be considered an incomplete form, and then whoever shows back up at makeup will conduct a precinct meeting all over again. A couple of things that I want to talk about really quick. The regional leads will be wearing name tags that designate them as leads by the SCGOP as well as the volunteers. There will be no outside security provided from each of y'all. The SCGOP acquired each of these buildings to host this process. We are paying for the insurance for each of these buildings. We are the point of contact for each of these buildings. We are getting security for each of these buildings, and that will be the only security that is allowed. And then there should be no guests allowed outside of people that are in that precinct. So unless you're a voting member of that precinct that is reorging there, then a guest is not allowed. If you have a kid that you can't leave or something of that nature, that can be handled in a one-off situation. But every person that is an able-bodied person is going to be asked to leave if they are not a voting member of the precinct that is reorging there. And then there is no fee and there is no free sign-up. So that's a little bit different in the past. There has been a fee, I believe in the past. There is no fee. We are taking all the cost of this. And so since there's no cost, since there's no cost that we're asking for y'all to burden, then we're not going to collect a fee. We're doing this through the state party. So those are all of the things that I have to kind of go over. Tabitha, do you have anything else that you think we missed or should cover?
No, I don't. I think you covered everything that I think needed to be covered going into Monday. I think if we have a little bit of time, maybe we can answer some questions that people may have.
Yeah, if y'all, I think the best way to do some questions, Tabitha, I think if we enable the chat feature, then you can read off the question and we can try to answer it as best we can.
Yeah. All right. Give us 1 second. All right. So no need for fee for state delegate 2.
Nope, there is no fee.
How many forms will be in our packet?
So there should only be one form in your packet. There will be one Form 2. You will be given a Form 1 whenever you come in.
Do you have an example of Form 1 and Form 2 and an agenda we can review ahead of time so as presidents we can prepare?
Yeah, I think that we can probably send out a copy of what the proposed agenda is and what the Form 1 and Form 2 look like.
When do we get packets as presidents? I can kind of answer that. So you will be given the packet at the table, and so the packets are not going to be given out until once everybody is checked in and at your assigned table for your precinct. Why do we not have to pay this year?
Because we're covering the cost.
Okay, I think we missed a few questions above. I asked for my hard R list. When will I get that? I would like to invite people.
Your hard R list?
Yes.
So you want to invite folks? We've done a ton of promotion through the state party, and we'll continue to do it for the next week to Republican voters in your precinct. We aren't distributing a hard R list to precinct presidents this year. But if you want to knock on doors in your neighborhood or talk to your neighbors, then you can do that. But we've contacted a ton of hard Republicans in Greenville County, and we'll continue to do so throughout this week.
Perfect, Mark. Thank you. Miss Christie says, I am new to Greenville, but have a GOP primary voting history in my previous locations. Does that qualify me? Should I bring my voting record?
If you want to bring your voting record, that's fine. Typically how we do for folks that are new to Greenville or new to South Carolina, we'll get your voter registration number from your P1 form, and then we will give that number to the RNC, and they're able to pull your voting record from other states if you live in another state. So we'll make sure to qualify you that way.
Okay. Thank you. We will be voting for treasurer, secretary, vice president, and president, correct? As well as delegates. So yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. We have 3 new ones. 3 new ones. I've already read all those. How do we do the nominations for EC, president, secretary, treasurer? Is the president in charge of this?
So the temporary president would conduct the meeting, but someone else would nominate, and you follow a typical Robert's Rules of Order for that process. So, if I am the temporary precinct president, and Tabitha wants to run for precinct president or committee man or permanent precinct president or committee man, or secretary or whatever else, then someone would nominate her for that position. If you would close nominations, or if there's someone else who wants to run, they would also be nominated. And then you would have a secret ballot election between the 2 of them.
Okay.
And it is a majority win, so you'd have to have a majority of the voting members to get elected. Now, delegates are only elected on a plurality.
Who is responsible for the security of our Social Security information? A lot of questions are coming through, so if you just give us a second, we'll get to them. They're just jumping really fast.
Yep. All right. I can follow along too.
Okay.
So, who is responsible for the security of our Social Security information? That's protected by it's only the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, so it wouldn't be your entire Social Security number, and that's given, and that wouldn't be written down or recorded or anything like that on our end. That's just simply put into the SCGOP's website, which they are secure, and that information is not shared. Is there a time limit per nomination? No, not necessarily, but the precinct president could set or the temporary president could set some standards. Or there's a nominating speech or something like that it could only be a minute or 30 seconds or a minute and a half, or whatever the precinct president or the temporary president, they would be conducting that meeting, so they would be able to do that. All right, what are the requirements to be an active member of the reorg meeting? You have to be a member of the precinct, and you have to be a member of the precinct, and then if you voted and if you show up in person, then you're okay. And then we don't, we're not doing, we have makeup after this, but so if you voted in the primary, you're an automatic member of the precinct, of the Republican precinct, if you're in the 2022 primary. And then and this is very rare, because there's someone that you think that is a Democrat or a known Democrat, or if somebody walks in and says, I'm here to mess up the Republican Party type thing like that, you could vote for that person not to participate. But in the spirit of the rule, then which is what we govern by in Rule 2A, then you would not do that, and you would any person that shows up and participates, shows up in person, they're registered in that party is allowed to participate. All right, what is the job of the committee man? The job of the committee man is to be the voting member of the precinct to the county meetings that happen monthly or quarterly based on your county. So you would be the voting member of your precinct. If there's a resolution, or if there's a rules vote or whatever maybe that comes up, then that would be something that you would vote on as a representative of your precinct. If you can't be there, then that proxy automatically goes to your precinct president. And there will be a description of every job that will be in the packet on the tables whenever you get to the precinct meeting. All right, nominating speeches, how long? I've already covered that. Do we need to bring index cards for voting along with pens? If someone wants to bring that, that's fine, but I think we will have that provided.
Yeah, I will have plenty of pens for anybody that shows up in extras.
All right, you said the current president will also function as the temporary president unless no current president shows up, correct? No. They will initiate the meeting, the current president will, but the group as a whole will need to elect a temporary president. It could be the same person, but they would need to elect a temporary president.
We're back.
All right, what do you mean by elected by plurality? if you're elected by plurality, that means that like nobody has to get 50%. So if you have 6 delegate slots available, then there may be some people that don't get 50%. But the top 6 the top 6 vote getters are delegates. The next 6 are the 6 alternates, and then you don't have any more people that are elected after that. So if you are, that means that you could not get 50% of the vote for the people that are all there. But if you're in the top 6, then it's elected by plurality.
Okay, I think we should take the question about just recapping as members of the precinct come in. So the express lane is for your check-in process. So it's for people that have both your driver's license or photo ID and your voter registration, so we can verify that you're in the precinct. You'll fill out the Form 1 with your contact information at your table once your precinct meeting gets started, and also at the Form 2, you'll fill out at your table once you've conducted all the voting of who is new officers and your delegates.
Right, and no one can sign up to be a delegate in between reorg and the makeup meeting. The rule changed at the convention this past year to show that people that show up in person are the priority. So there's nobody that can fill out a form in between reorg. They shouldn't be able to fill out a form anyway, because they shouldn't be able to have access to a form, because the forms are all going to stay at the meeting. But you cannot sign up to be a delegate in between reorg and makeup.
Yes, and in order, I've had this question a lot in other counties. In order to participate in reorg, you have to be in person to participate. And if you come in and you fill out a Form 1 and then you have to leave, it will no longer be able to be used at that meeting.
That's correct. All right.
You have to be in person to be able to be in the meeting.
All right. How many Form 1s will be available? We will have enough Form 1s for every single person to fill out one if they want to participate in reorg on Monday night. You must be a U.S. citizen to be a voting member of a precinct. Yes, that is correct. You have to be a U.S. citizen to be a voting be a voter.
Yeah.
Delegates for state have 2 out of 3 rule. What about delegates for county? There is no rule for the 2 out of 3 rule for delegates for the county convention.
And the state will provide paper, we'll provide pens, papers, anything that you guys need to conduct business at reorg.
Yes, we will provide paper if we need to take a runoff vote.
Yes, a temporary president can be elected as a delegate.
Yes.
Mark, do you have a Form 2 with you?
I do. Hang on one second.
Thank you. Just kind of quickly show. Yes, we will have plenty of Form 1s available. We've ordered an extra amount from the attendance from 2021. So we have plenty of forms that will be available if we have a larger turnout.
Yes, we have way more forms than we
Way more.
had participated in 2021. All right, so this is what a Form 2 looks like. It's blue. It'll have your county and your precinct, and that stuff will already be pre-filled in. There'll be a spot to put who all elected to officers, and then here's where you list the names of the people in descending order based on how many votes they got. So if your team gets, or if your precinct gets 6 delegates, then you'll list 1 through 6 as delegates. You'll then list 1 through 6 as alternates, so you know exactly what order people came. Because all of a sudden, if number 5 the 5th delegate can't come to the election, or can't come to the county convention, and they bump up, then the first alternate has to be the next one to come up. It's not just any alternate, so it has to be bumped up in order. And it specifically says that. It says list the names of those elected as delegates and alternates to the county convention in the space below or attach it to this document. Make sure the election order is correct and the number of votes for each person is listed. And then you have a signature of the precinct secretary and the precinct president at the bottom. And then the state chairman is going to be, since the SCGOP is running the reorg process in Greenville County, the state chairman will be the one that signs the bottom of Form 2s.
Thank you, Mark. Miss Karen has a really good question. Which precinct officers have to meet the 2 out of 3 rule? And you can kind of explain that, and also the EC Greenville rule as well.
Yeah, so which precinct officers have to meet the 2 out of 3 primary rule? So no precinct officer has to meet the 2 out of 3 primary rule. It is only for people that are they want to be county officers and delegates to the state convention. So if you're running for county board chairman, if you're running for state committee man, if you're running for first vice chairman that's elected at the county convention, or you're running for a delegate from the county convention to the state convention, you have had to vote in 2 of the 3 primaries.
And the Greenville EC rule as well. Can you touch a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, and you may be able to tell me a little bit more, Tabitha. The Greenville EC rule, I believe that 2 out of 3 rule has been changed. Is that correct?
No.
So it is still, you still have to be a 2 out of 3 primary voter.
Yes.
For Greenville County, the Greenville County rules. Okay, so then we're gonna have to check. We're gonna have to check every person that runs for a committee man spot to make sure that they are 2 out of 3 afterwards.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I think we have time for like maybe 1 or 2, 3 tops more questions, and then.
Right. Yeah, I see right here it says that if your precinct is so large that you have a bunch of delegates and alternates, then yes, you can put them on the back of the Form 2, or you can attach another sheet of paper. The signatures at the bottom of the Form 2 are they the new president, secretary, or the previous president? They are the new, the precinct president and secretary have to sign both the Form 1 and the Form 2. And that is the newly elected precinct president and precinct secretary. Yes, the committee man is the same as the EC. And the 2 out of the 3 rule for precinct EC is that the Greenville County rules state that the Greenville County Republican Party rules state that you have to be a 2 out of 3 Republican primary voter to be elected as a executive committee man.
Yes. And I think last question.
They don't want to do it.
Mark, you can choose which one you want to answer lastly.
How are votes ending in a tie handled? That's actually a great question. I'm glad that somebody asked that.
Yes.
For a precinct officer position, then votes in a tie are handled by continuing to vote. So if there's a tie or if no one gets 50%, then you vote. There doesn't have to, and there would be a runoff, but you don't actually have to drop out. You would vote until someone gets a majority. For a delegate positions, if there's a tie for a delegate spot, then the rule is that you draw lots. So you'll put sheets of paper, or you'll put a sheet of paper into numbers into a hat, and you will draw those. You will draw lots, just like how they do like a jury do.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Mark, for hopping on and kind of giving us a rundown of how Monday is going to go. If anybody has any questions that they would like to get answered, you can email me at Tabitha@SCGOP.com. Tabitha is spelled TABITHA at SCGOP.com, and I can kind of help you there. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Give the date of the makeup meeting real quick, just so everybody knows that.
April 3rd.
And that's
will be our makeup meeting.
That's at the Hilton, correct?
No, it's at the veranda.
Okay, at the veranda. I'm sorry.
Yes. And I will send out if you guys usually get all my emails anyway. If you join, that means you got my email. So I'll send out an email shortly about information with makeup and convention and stuff to let you guys know as well.
Thank you all so much. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you guys.